Joining me now, John Rossomando, defense and counterterrorism analyst in Washington, D.C. Appreciate your joining us, John. What do you see in the Iranians, at least at the moment, in their rhetoric, are making it very clear. They're not backing down. Is the United States, in your view, ready for another prolonged conflict, if it is to be that, in the Middle East?
Well, I think the United States wants to keep the attacks like we saw over the weekend to a minimum. I think that we're getting ready for terrorist attacks inside the United States. Kristi Noem, our Secretary of Homeland Security, issued a memo this morning telling Americans to be on alert for terror attacks and issuing a bulletin across the country. I think that you could end up seeing attacks by the Iranian-controlled militias in Iraq against American forces in Iraq and in Syria. You could potentially see maybe missile strikes at American bases, maybe attacks against U.S. warships off the coast. The Chinese have given a warning to Tehran not to close the Strait of Hormuz because China's economy is overwhelmingly dependent on oil from the Persian Gulf. So I think that we won't see this close to the Strait of Hormuz in the near future.
But there is, of course, the possibility that Iran could attack U.S. bases in the area. It's happened before also. Do you believe that the United States is ready for this kind of retaliatory spiral? Can Donald Trump, or does Donald Trump believe he's done what he had to on the weekend and the world will be back to normal? That's not going to happen, is it? I mean, has the U.S. underestimated Iran in some way?
Well, I think that the U.S. is, ready for all contingencies against the Iranians. I mean, the fact that you have Israel running around-the-clock bombing sorties against Iran, kind of lessens the need of the U.S. to do anything of the sort. I mean, it's kind of the reverse of what you had in the '91 Gulf War, where the U.S. provided air cover for Tel Aviv, where now you have the Israelis exacting revenge against, Iran on the inside. So I don't see much of a need for the United States to do anything kinetic.
Because there's a belief that Israel cannot finish this war on its own. Israel and Iran, unless the United States actually actively gets involved with kinetic action, this war will not finish in a hurry. So therefore, the pressure could well build on the United States to enter the war in a more specific manner. You seem to suggest that that is not Donald Trump's preferred option, but sometimes in life you don't get your preferred options. Having taken the step that he did on the weekend, is he ready for what it involves?
Sometimes there's a third option. You've seen the Israelis attack Evin prison, where the regime has its political prisoners in Tehran. You've seen attacks against IRGC. You could potentially see the U.S. working to help the Iranian protesters who've been in the streets for years to have a fighting chance against this regime. I think yesterday you had President Trump talk about regime change obliquely when he said, make Iran great again. But I think that's more of a reference to helping the Iranian people to get rid of this regime that they hate.
Mm-hmm. John, there's a sense that the way this has played out in the last couple of weeks, Israel was creating a situation where the U.S. had no choice but to get into this war. What is your belief is the general view of people in America? Do they really, do they get memories of what happened in Afghanistan every time they're told of going to war? Or is this seen as a necessary battle to be fought?
Well, the average American doesn't know the difference between an Iranian and an Afghan or an Iranian and Iraqi. So, Americans are in consternation about the narrative about endless wars. So President Trump is going to do everything that he can to keep, large troop formations from going into Iran. I mean, you might have some covert actions, maybe Delta Force or Green Berets that would go under the radar, but nothing like large. I mean, we'll probably see things that we can't talk about going on. Maybe providing Starlinks or other communications for Iranian protesters, because there's a very strong feeling against this regime. I mean, I heard an anecdotal report from an Iranian friend who was talking to her friend in the country, who said that she would love to see a statue of Netanyahu in Tehran. So I think that that says that we don't need to be the one boots on the ground. Help the Iranian people to be their own boots on the ground.
So in a sense, what you're suggesting, it's not so much about regime change, but regime collapse. What the United States is hoping, perhaps, by what it's done on the weekend and what the Israelis are doing, is to create a situation where the people of Iran revolt and there's a regime collapse. Am I right?
Yes, and you have Prince Reza Pahlavi, the son of the late Shah, who claims to be getting pledges of loyalty from people in the security services, trying to say, hey, if this regime collapses, we have an option. The rumors, at least on X, have been that this administration has been talking to Prince Reza, and so have the Chinese. So I think that we want to take bets on collapsing this regime due to lack of support and freeing it from its jailers, namely the besieged militia that has killed hundreds of protesters, and the courts of this regime that have sentenced like 20,000 people to prison for protesting against it.
John Rosamondo, for joining me there from Washington. Appreciate your joining us.